Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. A very warm welcome to the Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award launching ceremony and MOUs signing with higher education institutions event. My name is Patricia, and I'm happy to be your MC today. It's our great pleasure to have all of you joining us today, and we're actually also joined by our online audience right now, since our event is being broadcasting live online and attended by guests from all around the world. May I invite all of you to put your hands together to welcome everyone joining us today. Thank you. The Construction Industry Council is keen to promote digitalization within the construction industry as part of our effort to support Construction 2.0. This year, the Development Bureau and the CIC are co-organizing the first ever Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award. The award aims to recognize local projects and organizations that best utilize common data environment to improve project management, collaboration, and productivities, and also to share the awardees' experiences on utilizing CDE for digital collaboration with the industry. For the event today, the CIC will also be signing MOUs with higher education institutions to further enhance the level of collaboration. Now, to officially begin, please join me and welcome Engineer Thomas Ho, Chairman of Construction Industry Council, to come on stage for his welcome remarks. Please welcome Engineer Ho.
Dear John and all fellow digital construction supporters, welcome to today's CDE Award launching ceremony, 建造業綜合共用平台. Construction industry in different parts of our world are transforming at a tremendous pace. Compared to the conventional practices, activities are moving now a lot from on-site to off-site. The use of integrated multi-train modules are more common than ever, and the plug-and-play method has become a trend in the industry. What I mentioned above are only a fraction of the advanced technologies employed by the industry. In fact, way more methods are devised to foster construction productivities and efficiencies. Hong Kong, as a vibrant and world-class city, has always kept pace with our global counterparts. You all have left no stone unturned to deliver a better living and working experiences for our city. Projects adopting new design, new concepts, and new technologies are being introduced in the world-class project, like the Henderson, like the Lyric Theatre, like the Artistic Square Bridge, like the Airport Terminal 2, and the Central Kowloon Road. All of them are unique in the architectural forms and structures. All these world-class structures and projects have steered the industry to just one focus, an integrated platform for common use, 綜合共用平台. Behind all the facades and concrete, data lay the foundation of construction. An integrated common data and environment, 綜合共用平台, is desperately needed, starting from the conceptual stage to design, to construction, to maintenance and FM, the whole life cycle. The key to success are integrated and single source of truth and single source of use. Let's look beyond design and construction and focus on the future. While I'm talking about 50 years or more of the asset life cycle, we then can realize the long-term benefits. To avoid any inconsistency and to raise efficiency as well as sustainability, the FM and the life cycle requirement must be bolted onto the integrated CDE from the very beginning, or else we find ourselves caught between different contradicting platforms when the construction is being done. I've seen so much project in Hong Kong who have all this wasteful sort of platform and are not pragmatic because they are really done too late and not pragmatic enough. The key, as I said, is a life cycle asset management integration. I'd like to cite a project where the enlightened customer have identified more than 9,000 plus FM points in the concept stage, and they instructed the consultant and contractors to bolt onto the integrated CDE platforms. They planned in advance, and they succeeded to enhance. When the built model are utilized, their FM tools drive even better energy efficiency and maintenance. The client has gained tremendous benefit in the whole life cycle and thus become more and more competitive in the sector market. In each year, it was rumored that they have saved some 200 million electricity costs as compared to a traditional data center. 2億嘅電費. The objective of this award is exactly this, to recognize outstanding projects and methods in relation to integrated life cycle CDEs. Thereafter, we'll showcase them to the industry with a wish to set an example, not just local, but global. And this is really my another dream for CIC. Before I conclude, I'd like to share some of my vision for the future. Let's look at the video. So ladies and gentlemen, I think after looking at this real, vision, I'm quite sure you agree with me. We really need this integrated CDE for a single source of truth and a single source of use. And it's a real management tool from the beginning to the end, and the life cycle would repeat for sustainable competitiveness. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ho. Thank you. Please be seated. I believe all of us are very excited and look forward to seeing all these come into reality. Now we would like to invite Engineer John Kwong, Head of Project Strategy and Governance Office of Development Bureau, to proceed on stage for his keynote speech. Please welcome Engineer Kwong.
Good afternoon, CIC Chairman Mr. Thomas Ho, Professor C.F. Lee, fellow professors from universities, distinguished guests, friends, and colleagues. In fact, it is my great honor today to have the chance to share with you the latest update of government's initiative in the digitalization of public works. We are all very excited to see the inauguration of the new term of government on last Friday. Under the leadership of Mr. John Lee, this term of government is committed to expedite land and housing supply for Hong Kong. Under the backdrop of faster delivery of housing and land, we have to be aware of these four major challenges or drivers for our construction industry to do better. If the industry is to fulfill the expectation on us, we have to boost our productivity. We have to enhance our cost effectiveness, and we have also to increase our working efficiency. How can we do this? We have to embrace innovation, construction methods, advanced technologies, and construction digitalization. That is, we have to act smart and think smart. In fact, since 2018, we have been promoting Construction 2.0 with the initiatives of Building Information Modeling, BIM, and Digital Works Supervision System, DWSS. Construction 2.0 marks the beginning of the journey of digitalization of public works. It is also an important milestone for Hong Kong construction industry as well. This slide shows the journey of digitalization of public works in the past 4 years. As you can see, in the past few years, the policy address and the budget have been highlighting the latest initiative and reporting on the progress of Digital Works Supervision System, BIM, and the Integrated Capital Works Platform. The policy address in last November, in fact, reassured the industry that the government will continue to actively drive digitalization of public works, including the use of DWSS, BIM, and the development of digital integrated platform. But where are we now in terms of the digitalization of public works? From 2018 onwards, consultants and contractors are required to use BIM for major projects. Currently, there are about 400 public works projects with total construction value of $240 billion adopting BIM. The Lands Department is also establishing a BIM data repository to gather BIM models from works departments under harmonized BIM standards. We have implemented the Digital Work Supervision System since 2020, and the response from the industry is very positive. Up to now, there are more than 120 works contracts adopting DWSS, with total contract value of around $180 billion. There are over 8,000 users in DWSS, and the average cost of DWSS is only 0.1% of contract value. The promotion of DWSS has also created an ecology for developers of software platforms. With financial incentive provided by CITF and CIC, there are now 15 DWSS platforms adopted in public works contracts. From this pie chart, you can see that there are around 50% contracts adopting two major systems. It has maintained diversity while providing popularity in the DWSS market. We will further develop DWSS into a common data environment for clients, site supervisory staff, and contractors in construction contracts. To further enhance contract performance, we are going to connect DWSS with smart site applications, such as remote monitoring, wireless sensor networks, and IoTs. And we will also add contract management workflows to manage and monitor variation orders, compensation events, and payment applications. Here is the architecture for digitalization of public works. By taking a project life cycle approach, we are now connecting the DWSS backward and forward to the digital planning and design system, as well as the asset management system in the operation and maintenance phase. With BIM as the backbone, we are now developing the integrated capital works platform, which serves to collect and consolidate data from the project life cycle. This enabled continuous performance monitoring and data analysis to enhance the overall management and performance of public works and infrastructure facilities. The integrated capital works platform will also serve as a common data environment for public works at government level, departmental level, office level, and down to project level. The Development Bureau have also established the task force on digitalization of public works to steer and coordinate efforts from works departments. The task force will also look at how to better develop a common data environment for planning, design, construction, operation, and maintenance of public works. With concerted effort, we anticipate to see the realization of digitalization of public works at a much faster pace. When we talk about a common data environment for public works, we need to understand the scale we are looking at. For our public works system, we need to manage over 600 ongoing capital projects, over 2,000 buildings, and over 2,000 public infrastructure facilities. We need an integrated platform, a common data environment for managing all these projects and facilities. This is a very huge portfolio that we need to handle. And someone, in fact, told me that this is unprecedented in the world. While we are talking about CDE for public works, what is in fact a CDE? CDE is mentioned and explained in BS 1129 by Marvin Richards. CDE will act as a single source of information to collect, manage, and disseminate documentation, graphical and non-graphical data for the whole project team. And CDE is created in a BIM environment or in other appropriate data format. The CDE for public works enable data integration and big data analysis to monitor project performance continuously. Coupled with AI and other advanced digital technology, we can optimize performance in respect of productivity, cost effectiveness and efficiency, sustainability, and safety. We are now developing the Integrated Capital Works Platform, ICWP, to collect and consolidate site data from the public works contracts. On this screen is the trial version of the ICWP. We are now collecting data from works contracts and summarizing various performance data, such as workers' daily wages, number of workers working on our contracts, and the number of workers from different trades. We will be able to show you more details once the platform is fully implemented. In fact, colleagues from various government departments are also making great efforts in driving digitalization in government. We have the asset management platform, the government-wide IoT network, the regional digital control center, geospatial lab, geoinfomap, and others. From our experience in the digitalization of public works, we realize that system, process, and people are the most important factors that affect the outcome and the degree of success. Among these three important factors, I would say people is the most crucial one. We have to find the right people to collaborate in the digitalization journey. Such right people should possess the mindset for change, have the necessary know-how and skill set, and provided with the appropriate tool set for planning and implementing the digitalization journey. The Common Data Environment Award by CIC is a very good venue to gather and identify suitable systems and people to promote the development and adoption of CDE in the construction industry. I note that today there will be a ceremony on MOU signing between CIC and higher education institutions. The Development Bureau is fully in support of this very meaningful and crucial move. I'm sure this MOU will further strengthen the collaboration amongst universities, industry, and government in taking forward construction digitalization. I also note that CIC has invited several heavyweight speakers today to share their expert views on CDE. I wish today's event a success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kwong. Please remain on stage as we proceed to the launching ceremony for the Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Engineer Thomas Ho, Chairman of CIC, Engineer Albert Chang, Executive Director of CIC. Please welcome Mr. Tony Wong, Deputy Government Chief Information Officer. Please welcome Surveyor Eddie Lam, President of the Hong Kong Construction Association. Engineer Rocky Poon, President of the Hong Kong Federation of Electrical and Mechanical Contractors Limited. Please welcome. And please also welcome Engineer Edwin Zhong, President of the Hong Kong Institution of Engineers. Please welcome. Our guest here on stage will be officiating the launching ceremony of the Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award. All right, before we do the kick-off gesture, I would like to invite our guests to have one hand close to the wall, but not on it yet, and we'll have the first photo together, all right? 好啦，先將其中一隻手咧拎起我哋咧靠近個 wall 先，咁我哋先影一張相嘅。Please smile for the camera. We'll have a photographer at the center. All right, later on, I'll do the count of 3, and I would like to invite all of you to do the countdown with me, all right? And our guests, when you're ready, you can place your hands on the wall after the count. Okay, when everyone is ready, let's do the count together. 3, 2, 1. The first Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award is officially launched. Congratulations. It's certainly a very important moment for us. And we would like to have another group photo for our guests here on stage. So please smile for the camera and we'll have one more group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together again to congratulate this very important moment for CIC and also the industry. Well, for organizations that have been working on inspiring projects that utilize CDE, do not hesitate and apply now to share your valuable experiences with the industry. We definitely look forward to receiving your submissions. Okay, one more photo with your thumbs up. All right, thank you very much once again to our honorable guests. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you so much. Later on, we'll know more about the award and how we can apply and the eligibility and more details, so stay tuned with us. Along the years, the CIC has invested a lot of resources in promoting digitalization, not only targeting industry practitioners, but also on nurturing students, youngsters via different means. Since 2017, the CIC has signed Memorandum of Understanding MOUs with higher education institutions, HEIs, to foster the incorporation of BIM knowledge into the curriculum of HEIs. The CIC had shared training materials, provided free training seats of BIM training courses, and conducted train-the-trainer courses for the HEIs. The task group on BIM-enabled modern construction training for higher education was formed also in March 2021 to promote BIM-enabled modern construction training through higher education. By renewing the MOUs today, all parties agreed to continue sharing information, experiences, and ideas to develop BIM and construction digitalization courses. The CIC and the HEIs will extend the collaborative effort to equip students with necessary knowledge and competency for BEAM professional career development, including CIC Certified BEAM Manager, CCBM, and CIC Certified BEAM Coordinator, CCBC. Today, the CIC is pleased to renew the MOUs with 7 faculties of higher education institutions to continue the efforts in providing our next generation with the latest technologies and first-hand information on BEAM. Now, we would like to invite representatives who are the signees to proceed on stage and be seated. They are, please join me in welcome, Engineer Albert Chang, Executive Director of CIC. Please welcome. Professor C.F. Lee, President of Zhuhai College of Higher Education. Please welcome. Professor David Stralovus, Dean of Engineering, the University of Hong Kong. Please welcome. Dr. Daniel Yan, Academic Director, Engineering, the Vocational Training Council. Please welcome. Professor Wilson Liu, Associate Dean of Research, Faculty of Architecture, the University of Hong Kong. Professor Mo Wai Ho, Associate Dean of Engineering, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Please welcome. Professor Lina Xiao, Associate Dean Partnership of Faculty of Construction and Environment, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Please welcome. We also have Professor Thomas Ng, Head, Department of Architecture and Civil Engineering, City University of Hong Kong. Please welcome. Now, with our signees, please be seated. Please take your seats. Next, we would like to invite representatives who will be witnessing the signing ceremony to proceed on stage. They are, please welcome Engineer Thomas Ho, Chairman of the CIC. Next, let's welcome Professor David Long, Dean of Faculty of Science and Engineering, Zhuhai College of Higher Education. Please welcome. Next, let's invite Engineer Professor Francis Au, Head, Department of Civil Engineering, the University of Hong Kong. Dr. Michael Wang, Executive Director of the Vocational Training Council. Please welcome. Next, let's welcome Professor Mr. Ulrich Kirchhoff, Leader of the Faculty BIM-SIM Workgroup, Assistant Professor, Department of Architecture, Faculty of Architecture, the University of Hong Kong. Next, we have Dr. Isabel Chan, Program Director of BSc Surveying, Assistant Professor, Department of Real Estate and Construction, Faculty of Architecture, the University of Hong Kong. Please welcome. Next, we have Professor Jack Chang, Associate Head and Professor, Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Please welcome. Next, we also have Professor Charles Wong, Associate Dean Teaching of Faculty of Construction and Environment, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Please welcome. Now, at this juncture, I would like to invite our guests to pay attention. We'll be taking 2 photos. The first photo will be before the signing ceremony. So we would like to have our photographer to get ready and take a photo for this moment. We would like to invite the signees to have the photos in front of you open, and you'll want to hold up the pens in front of you. And we will pose for a photo first, all right? Okay, our guests on the stage, you may want to go 1 step to the right. All right, thank you. Smile for the camera for a few more photos. All right, now when our guests are ready, you may now sign on the documents prepared for you. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand to CIC and higher education institutions again. A big round of applause. Thank you very much. Now we'll have another photo together. We would like to invite our signees to hold up the document upright, show it to the camera, and we'll have another photo together to commemorate this important moment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please smile for the camera. And I would like to let you know that it is actually a key milestone for us up to now. The CIC has signed MOUs with 11 higher education institutions. Our strong collaboration with the academic circle can definitely further motivate the development of BIM education in Hong Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause again to CIC and our HEIs. Thank you very much. And we wish you all every success in the years to come. All right, now, would our signees please remain seated for now? We would like to invite the witnesses to proceed off stage and be seated first. Thank you very much. 我哋咧先有請我哋嘅見證人移步到台下就座嘅。Thank you. And now would our signees please also rise and return to your seats and be seated. Thank you very much and congratulations. It was definitely a moment to remember for our industry. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was really a happy moment for all of us and also for the industry. I believe we will all agree with that. By introducing BIM and construction digitalization content into the curriculums, we can equip students with necessary knowledge of construction digitalization in advance before they join the construction industry in the future. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's circle back to the Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award. The award, as we mentioned just now, aims to recognize local projects and organizations that best utilize CDE to improve project management, collaboration, and productivities, and also to share our awardees' experiences on utilizing CDE for digital collaboration with the industry. Well, I'm sure many of our industry practitioners and also our audience here joining us would be really interested to learn more about the award, right? So if you do, keep your ears open and your eyes peeled, because I'm going to invite our guests here on stage to share with us the award categories, eligibility, judging criteria, and submission method. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage architect Daniel Soon, member of the Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award Organizing Committee and Director, Industry Development of the CIC, to come on stage and tell us more about the award. Please welcome architect Soon.
Head of PSGO, Mr. John Kwong, Chairman Thomas, ED Abbott, OC members, judges, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As our OC chairperson, Mr. Donald Choi, has prior engagement and cannot join this event, let me introduce the details of the Hong Kong CDE Award on behalf of the OC. The first Hong Kong Construction CDE Award is co-organized by the Development Bureau and the CIC. The objective of this award is to recognize the outstanding projects and organizations that best utilize CDE to improve project management, collaboration, and productivities, and to share the awardees' experience in utilizing CDE for digital collaboration with the industry. Thank you very much for the OC, which was formed by the representatives from Development Bureau, professional bodies, and committees of the CIC. The members include Chairperson Donald Choi, members John Kwong, Tony Wong, Ada Fong, Ken Wong, Eddie Lam, Rocky Poon, Edwin Chung, KK Chiu, and me representing the CIC. The OC helped design the award details, such as judging criteria, schedule, and appointment of judging panel in a short period of time. Today, 7th of July, we officially launched the Hong Kong Construction CDE Award. We open for entries until the deadline 30th of September 2022. Then, the judges will assess the entries during October to November. Written notice will be served to awardees. Awards will be presented at the Construction Innovation Expo 2022 in December this year. The award is divided into two categories: project, and organization. For each category, we will distribute gold, silver, and bronze award respectively. The judging panel may give special recognition to eligible projects or organizations. On the eligibility of project category, government and private projects are accepted for participation. These submitted projects must be active from 1st January 2020 to end August 2022. The built assets of the project must be in Hong Kong. On the eligibility of organization category, project owners, developers, consultants, contractors are all accepted for participation. The participating organization must have an office in Hong Kong. On the judging criteria of project category, 70% of marks will be given to CDE adoption and innovation, and we'll look at the 4 aspects as shown here. The remaining 40% of marks will be given to contribution and achievement, with aspects shown over here as well. On the judging criteria of organization category, 65% of marks will be given to vision and maturity in CDE, and 25% of marks will be given to contribution and achievement. The remaining 10% will be given to driving CDE adoption. Online application forms of the 2 categories are created, with QR code provided here for accessing the online application page and other details of the award. Before the launching of this award, we have already received overwhelming support from the industry to be the supporting organizations that you show over here. We believe that they will help promote this event and encourage their members or staff to join this award. We also hope your participation and support too, and this could become one of the significant events in the industry. So, don't hesitate. The application deadline is 30th of September this year. Please scan this QR code for application and more details. Apply now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Architect Soon. Thank you for giving us the details about the award. So for those of you joining us here physically and also those online, don't miss the deadline. It's 30th of September. Do apply now. All right, next we'll be having a chance to learn from Mr. James Burt from Quintain Limited, who will share his overseas CDE experience. His sharing is titled, How Quintain Unlock Value from Procuring Data. Please welcome Mr. Burt.
Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how Quintain have unlocked value from procuring data over the course of construction projects. I'm going to skip through a few things here. The business case for the collection of this data, the different elements that we're bringing together as part of this business case, and the result that we've experienced as a result of putting these processes together. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is the power of the data downstream from the construction concept of the CDE. So if you consider the CDE as a procurement vehicle of data coming from a construction project, you can start to think about the possibilities associated with supplying that data elsewhere for other uses further in time. That said, in many cases, the developers of real estate and built assets might not understand at a project's beginning how they, or those they sell assets onto, might unlock value from such data in the future. This presentation is an example of how we at Quintain have utilised that data to unlock business value. As a background, Quintain owns a very large estate surrounding the National Football Stadium and around Wembley Stadium in London. The site is mixed use in nature, but the vast majority of what we're building and then operating ourselves is residential units. These residential units are operated by our platform, Quintain Living. The product we build is commonly known as PRS, standing for Private Rental Sector, a form of large-scale institutionally owned homes. Again, to reiterate, as a business, Quintain designs, develops and operates assets. So we have a longer than typical investment horizon in this asset class, longer than many clients in the industry. Plus, we continue to design future pipeline of new assets on the site. So on this slide, I've just added a couple of images of examples of our apartments. And you can kind of see there's a bit of diversity in those apartments, which is something I'll come back to later in the presentation. So to date, we've delivered something in the region of 5,000 units within 11 different residential buildings, and we've got a pipeline of another 4,000 currently within eight or more buildings. So apologies here for quite a text-heavy slide, but the point I want to make is that we should always be trying to increase value. In this case, with our pipeline of new buildings, we constantly have to look at opportunities for improving on the TOTEX invested in our assets without compromising or actively improving on the cost, quality, and time to deliver units into the business. To assist with this investigation, we can look at several aspects of the end product that we would like to know. For example, how do our assets perform versus how they have been designed? Is there any fat in the design that we can get rid of? If there's any difference between the buildings or particular units within different buildings, is this something that points to a more popular product within our portfolio? In both cases, this insight can potentially point to preferred outcomes, which we can then push back into our pipeline requirements or our development brief. Another opportunity angle is the ongoing operational costs associated with the units. Cutting down unnecessarily use of resources saves on these limited resources like electricity and water, and saves us on the costly utility infrastructure and consumption associated with those utilities. Third of all, we want to know when something might be faulty and using resources inefficiently as a result. All of this has become particularly pertinent in the recent energy crisis, and utilities become more and more expensive to everyone. So how do we go about this? Well, we take a number of data sets and we bring them together. The first is the data we procure through the construction phase. We ask our contractors through our specifications to deliver these facts about our portfolio into the client's CDE at practical completion. In this case, Zutec has become our standard delivery vehicle for that data. We end up with a consistent set of structured data about each unit within the building, and all that data gets ingested into our Microsoft Azure cloud-based data warehouse at practical completion. Some examples of the facts that we have found most useful are obvious, the likes of unit size, as in area, square feet, square meters, unit type, as in 1-bed, 2-bed studio, but some are less obvious, like the form of ventilation, which has allowed us to probe interesting patterns in the data. But fundamentally, we collect as much data as we can without incurring a premium from the contractor. As well as the facts related to the residential units, we also collect a large amount of structured data on the managed assets, systems that require some sort of maintenance over the life of their use in the building. So focusing here on the residential units, we pair the facts about the portfolio with the changing measures. The most impactful are the two referenced here. Daily consumption of utilities, which consists of hot water, cold water, electricity, and heat, which is what we are using for space heating throughout the heat network, and the occupancy status on that specific day of that specific unit from our leasing platform. This platform also helpfully holds any mitigating circumstance relating to that particular unit. For example, a unit might be used as a show flat or be in a temporary use for welfare during the fit out of a building. So in these cases, a unit might not be generating revenue, but it would likely have some form of occupancy requiring lights on or taps running, much more than a completely vacant one. So a reason for using more than the minimum in resources. So worth noting here, that it's important to our solution to keep these operational elements as consistent as possible. So again, a text-heavy slide, but the fixed facts and changing measures are paired together in a data model within our Microsoft Azure data warehouse. Calculations are automatically made each day, and the data contributes to a growing picture of behaviors. The normal distribution of these behaviors is what is powerful to us. we can see statistically what is in the realms of expected and what is unexpected. So what I'm sharing here is some visuals from the analysis that I prepared on a year's worth of electricity data for our portfolio. So the normal distribution of the consumed units of electricity at the top, in the middle showing a kind of left-hand skewed normal distribution, pointing out the mean and the upper and lower quartiles. And then on the bottom left, a box plot illustrating the kind of those values for different size residential units. In the below, I've cleansed the data using Python and removed spurious data so that we have a clean data set. So going back to the presentation earlier, the data I'm using is the fixed unit size to generate the unit type, the occupancy to extract which units were occupied on the days that we're taking these consumed units, and then calculating the consumed units from the meters in the apartment on that particular day. So I can also isolate those units with mitigating circumstances like those which are being used as a show flat. This data helped me define what normal looks like, and perhaps more easily what is likely to be problematic. But understanding what is problematic was a bit more involved than a single shot. We observed a set of rules, or using an algorithm that sat on top of this data, witnessed what was happening on the ground, and then adjusted the sensitivity. Final product is a daily email Power BI dashboard identifying units that need further investigation on a manageable scale. Since the product went live, we have proven utility reduction, saving the company lots of money, as well as it has evolved a deep understanding of the behavior of our products. Smart cities is a popular term in our sector. Sadly, much of the time I find it's a marketing gimmick rather than describing a meaningful value creation approach to workflows. To me, what I've described to you today is a smart cities approach to real estate development and operation, in that it uses data to iterate towards improvement. That is the opportunity we have and have taken at Quintain. Our sector can often be driven by short-term investment horizons, conservatism in design by those wanting to protect against claims, and at times subjective decision-making by those with the power, rather than a data-driven approach which considers a whole life cycle approach. I'm a firm believer that longer investment horizons by owner-operators in real estate will drive these better outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bird, for the insightful sharing and the experience. Next, we're pleased to have Mr. Mark Anser, OBE, Fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering from Mott MacDonald and Centre for Digital Build Britain, to share with us towards connected data environments. Please welcome Mr. Anser.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a real pleasure to be here. What I'd like to talk about are connected data environments, but also to consider what might be beyond that. And the way I'd like to do this is to use some project examples to illustrate what we mean by common data environments, but then to look beyond that and start to consider what might happen if we can have more interoperable data and greater connection between systems, and start thinking about connected data environments, and then go beyond that again and consider what might happen if we can federate more widely and come up with connected digital twins. But to set the scene and to start it all off, I'd like to talk a little bit about digital transformation, and in particular to show how people are at the top and information is in the middle. And the reason for doing this is to say that people in this are the most important. I think digital transformation is all about enabling people, but it's enabling people to use information better, to make better decisions. And that's where value gets released. But it's also about improving processes, and it's about applying technology more wisely. And so those improvements of processes and technology are really all about enabling a better management of information. And that is then about enabling people to make better decisions. So as I say, people at the top and information in the middle. And so this then means that we can see the real value of data, and it points to why we need common data environments. So let's start with common data environments. And I think at its root, a common data environment is really a means of providing a collaborative environment for sharing work. It's about collaborating around shared data. It's about moving from a chaotic data environment where nobody really knows who's got what data, or what is the master data, what is the current version. So moving from that kind of chaos to a common data environment where there's a single source of truth and you've got streamlined processes, much better coordination, reducing rework. And so this is what a common data environment is all about. And a really good example of it would be from some of the work we did on Tideway. Thames Tideway is a huge project in London, helping to clean up the River Thames. About £4.2 billion worth of investment, and many different organisations working on the project. And so the connected data environment that we see here is McDonald hosting the CDE, coordinating BIM and project controls, deliverables and project information. And really the value of this is that it can provide intelligent reporting, information control, kind of clear ownership, and maybe most importantly, efficient delivery and coordination. And so it delivers real significant savings. If we look beyond that though, because there's huge advantages just in having that kind of centralized single source of truth that you get with a common data environment. But we can imagine beyond that and consider what happens if you can get data interoperability beyond just a centralized system and start thinking more of a distributed system that is connected. And the connections are principally provided by having interoperable data. And so this still follows the same ideas, the same intent, the intent that you see enshrined in ISO 19650. But it unlocks the potential of more value. And the project that I would call up on this one is High Speed 2, another huge project in the UK. 70 kilometers of high-speed railway and 300 assets, and McDonald has been involved in delivering this as part of the Mainworks design joint venture, with over 1,000 designers in 30 different locations and 18 different disciplines. But importantly, one integrated project team, and at the heart of this is having a connected data environment, enabling superior data management and making use of user-friendly, revolutionary technology. And so what this does is enable much quicker access to data, more informed decision-making, saving all sorts of time. And the kind of numbers that we're talking about in terms of the saving are around £200,000 resulting from more effective asset information management, but a 95% reduction in time taken to access the federated model, and more than £1 million of saving through the use of intelligent content on the MARTA platform. So real significant savings from using this kind of approach. And so I'd like to dig into that approach a little bit more and point out that a connected data environment really is all about connecting up the systems. And even though there might be independent data sources, it's bringing them together, providing assurance checks, making sure there's the trustworthiness of the data, configuration management and project controls enabled from this connectivity of the data. And so really at the heart of it is data. Data is at the heart of the project. It's key to unlocking value. And importantly, it's enabling an information flow through the processes, because we can see that information is the carrier of value. And when you get to a decision point, that's where the value of the information is released. So it's all about getting the right information in the right hands at the right time to make the right decision. But that's all based on data. And how to get the data interoperable? Well, a large part of it is to do with common coding and having a common approach so that even though data might come from different sources, it can come together in a way that, that fits. So with data at the heart of delivery, driving connectivity, driving integration, you can see that this common coding enabling the interoperability of data is really key. So it doesn't just rely on having a centralized database where all the data sits. The data can sit in different places, it can be distributed, but it's still connected because of that, that common coding. It means that we need to have a common approach to the data, consistent, high-quality data models. And what that enables then is this information flow and getting the information flow to the right people. And that is absolutely key because it's the people who make the decisions and you need to get the data to the right people. So as I started with on that triangle, people at the top, information in the middle. And so seeing kind of data as being what's at the heart, that then enables the information flow to the right people to make the right decisions. And so if we kind of join all of that up and see what a connected data environment does for us, we can see that it enables a structured but flexible approach. It improves the user experience and means that it becomes data enabled. I wouldn't say data driven, but data enabled. At the absolute heart of it is this idea of interoperable data founded on common data models, which enables the connected systems. That's really the key that unlocks the value of a connected data environment. That's what it's all about. Now, if we see that and we like that for delivery, and the benefits are already shown. I used a very brief project example to show that, but we recognize that it's really in delivery. But the same kind of idea can be taken wider than delivery into what else happens with our infrastructure assets. And so what I'd like to do is take this on to the idea of connected digital twins. And so what this diagram is trying to do is show that the delivery we just talked about is the little circle off to the top right-hand corner. It's a really important part of the construction industry. It's what we do, we deliver. But I think it's really informative for us to see that the delivery is part of a bigger system. It's about the operation and maintenance and use of our infrastructure. And we can look at each individual part of that infrastructure, whether it's energy or transport or water, but the same kind of diagram would be relevant. And I think the thing is that if we can see the value of that connected data through delivery, we can also see the value of that connected data through operation, maintenance and use. It's exactly the same story. And we can also see the value of the information flow through these processes, because we know that information carries value. If the information doesn't flow, then it's blocking value. And so we need that golden thread of information flow through all of these processes. But the basic concept of having that connected data enabled by high quality data models, having the interoperability of data, connecting up systems, is exactly the same thing for the whole of infrastructure and not just the delivery of it. And that's where digital twins and connected digital twins come in. And so just to illustrate that very briefly, if we think about individual digital twins, it's really about a connection between the digital and physical worlds, where you have data going one way from physical into digital. Within the digital worlds, we generate insights, helping to make better decisions, which then drives interventions back in the physical world. So we've got this two-way connection. It's a cyber-physical system. But if we can imagine one digital twin, we can imagine many of them. So a digital twin of the train, but also the track, also the signaling. And in the physical world, these are all joined up. But what we can imagine is them being joined up in the digital world too. And so this is what we mean by connected digital twins, a connection in the digital world between digital twins. And what enables that is exactly the same thing that we just talked about in terms of a connected data environment. If we draw that at an infrastructure level, at the level of the whole of the built environment, we can start to see digital worlds emerging, and all over the place you can imagine lots of different digital twins, and then those connected up by this connected data environment to enable an ecosystem of connected digital twins. And what's at the heart of it is the same as what we talked about for the connected data environment. Really, at the heart, at the core of it, there's a semantic solution which requires a consistent approach to data modeling. It means we need high quality data models that are shared. We also need shared reference data and common security and access protocols. But essentially, it's just an extension of what we've already talked about for a connected data environment. And so what I hope I've done in just a few minutes is take us through the kind of the logical connections from what we started with common data environments, where we can see collaboration around shared data, a single source of the truth. But that can potentially be centralized. We can then move beyond that to imagine a distributed, connected solution via interoperable data in connected data environments, and move beyond that again to look at the same, but for the whole system, an ecosystem of connected digital twins with secure information flow across organizational and sector boundaries. And at the heart of it, a semantic solution enabling that federation. So it's a very quick scoot through it, but I hope that that's useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Answer, for the insightful sharing. We're going to learn more later at the panel discussion. But before that, we're pleased to have Mr. Malcolm Taylor from Crossrail International to share with us on the CDE in practice. Let's hear about the story and the presentation from Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon. My name's Malcolm Taylor, and it's a real privilege to be here with you and the Construction Industry Council to be able to talk and present about the common data environment in practice. My background is as a professional engineer. I've been involved in design and building railway projects for many, many years. And I had the privilege of working in Hong Kong. My children born in Hong Kong, and I wish I was with you a lot more. But today, I now work for Crossrail International, having spent some 10, 12 years on the Crossrail project. Crossrail International's an advisory practice that's wholly owned by the UK government, providing advice to global clients that's of a strategic nature in terms of operating, designing, and bringing into use and delivering major railway projects. And my specialism is in digital strategy and design, based on my 10 years of working on Crossrail and the development of that common data environment and the use of digital practices. And we're now working on digital environments in places like Vietnam, Middle East, South America. So we have quite a good spread of experience and understanding of some of the issues. And today, really, what I'd like to do is share some of that experience with you about the common data environment in practice. Just set the scene a little bit to give you a feel for where I come from it. Talk a little bit about the origins of the CDE, because it is quite important, I think, to understand that in perspective and share the lessons learned with you based on some real sort of down-to-earth experience. just wanted to set the scene really to get people to appreciate that, you know, when we're delivering these major projects, they comprise of many stages, and we have many teams within those stages creating all sorts of information, and it's typically in really quite a fragmented way. A lot of suppliers, designers, contractors producing information and data in their own particular way, often very well, but the building blocks are usually really very much the way they do it, and it can be very, very hard to fit these building blocks of information together from different organizations. The common data environment, really, it's a combination of processes and technologies which combine together across the various stages of the life cycle, are used for exchanging and managing data. And it's creating an environment where everybody can access and create this collaborative environment for our projects. CDE provides that means for exchanging and coordinating information with everybody. So really, CDE is just one part of this digital environment. There are a number of components that go into creating a digital environment. The CDE is, to me, just about the most important thing. It's the core of the digital environment, but there's also a lot of other things that one needs to do to be able to properly deliver the outcomes that are really quite significant. And the CDE is just part of that process. Its importance really is that when we think about the way in which we create information, when we think about the project goals and how we create the functional requirements, we then undertake our engineering design, our social design with environmental and sustainability. We construct and operate. That digital environment contains all the information and the processes and the ways in which information flows through creating data across these various stages. As we then see into operation and maintenance, from operation and maintenance, then the outcomes can be seen. Common data environment allows us to manage and store our information in a way that we can actually get that traceability from our goals through to our outcomes. So not just thinking about it from an engineering perspective and delivering the engineering, but also the other aspects and things like sustainability, smart cities, being able to measure and show how our projects can be accountable for those significant changes the infrastructure can bring. The data inside a CDE is very much centralized and data-centric. We have to remember that applications come and go, and the importance of being data-centric is it allows information to be accessed by many different parties, and the data is always at that single source of truth. People come and go, applications change over time, but data is at the heart of our projects, and it needs to be managed as a very valuable resource. Now, the concept of a CDE certainly started a long time ago, and I remember using the BS 1192 Part 1 2007 version, where it first talked and mentioned about a CDE, about how to collaborate and share data. And it was a good, very simple document, which actually the Crossrail CDE is based entirely on. It has been superseded by ISO 19650, but that too sets out a lot more detail. CDEs often are thought of just single pieces of software, which is absolutely not a good way of thinking. It can be very much needed to be thought about as something suitable for dealing with the complexity and scale of projects, from something very simple like folders on a single server, or through up to multiple relational databases that you can use from the cloud. Depending on many things, depends on the shape of that CDE. So as I say, simple folder structures that we're quite used to, or if you go into relational databases where a lot of information is tabulated and related, and that's one of the really powerful things about using data within a relational database, that you create a great way for managing and sifting your data. So you Also, CDEs on projects can start small and can start in simple folders and then move into relational databases. There's another aspect we need to think about. And again, that's about how clients actually want to tackle their information, whether they want to work as a thin client, doing little work and leaving it all to the supply chain, or going into great detail in delivery and being heavily involved, creating lots of workflows, managing much of the detail. Again, so depending on how accountable and how much involved the client wants to be, depends on the shape and the nature of that CDE. ISO 19650 is very clear about the importance of the client understanding its role in creating a CDE for design projects, in construction, even in the asset information models that are used for operation. Client needs to be defining and establishing their data needs, the data DNA, so it can be consistent across all of its activities, not just the asset management, but design and construction. And so the client organizations really need to think about the basic data that they need in their projects, where this data comes from, because this is what the common data environment's going to hold. And this is the trick about getting the CDEs to be very effective, understanding what your information needs are. Simple characteristics across all of the CDEs, defining what data you need at the end and what data you need during design and construction, the shape and the form of that, the way you're going to store and manage your data, the amount of workflows you may want, and how you're going to then leverage the technology to make this work, to share and to collaborate. So a little bit of an example just to illustrate some of those points from Crossrail project. Crossrail has now moved into the Elizabeth line, but it took over 120 different contracts of one form or another to come together. And data, pretty much and information, very much the key, the glue holding this all together, because everybody needed to collaborate. Everybody needed to work in that single source of truth. And contractually, we required people to do that. We had to work within our client systems from which we paid for the software. And so there was no excuse for people not working within our systems. Our main CDE comprised actually of 3 relational databases that were linked together. But the power of that really was demonstrated by creating workflows that got rid of very large amounts of software. Workflows within these databases, so not just using our CAD 3D, 4D model design, but all our contract management, all our document control, all done within our CDE. So all our information was joined up and fitted perfectly. And all the supply chain understood exactly what was needed. A key thing, we started small in the design stage with just a few workflows as we needed in the design. And then as we moved into construction, we built up all of the additional workflows within that CDE as people needed them, eventually through into handover and snagging and the like. So the importance there is the CDE grows with your project, changes with your project, just like an organizational structure. And here, looking at a snapshot of some of the data, a few years ago when we had some 3.5 million documents in our CDE, we had nearly 10 million relationships formed between various pieces of data and information. And that was the key. And this actually has grown very significantly as we moved into handover. The relationships that enabled you to move swiftly from finding linked data that made it using relational databases so powerful. Most people are very aware of the benefits of not losing information between various stages, but we very much demonstrated that the commercial incentive, return on investment, was very, very significant. But it wasn't just doing it because it made a lot of commercial sense. The decision making was so much better. The control of assurance, particularly on these complex types of projects. So really, standing back and thinking about some of the lessons learned on not just from the Crossrail project, but from these other projects I've worked on over the last few years, the CDE is very fundamental part to creating a digital environment. It needs to be thought of alongside all of these other parts, thinking about what information is needed, thinking about the scale of projects and the type of client accountability that is wanted in terms of creating information. It's about thinking about the way in which information is going to be managed. What workflows do you need? What processes do you need? Fundamental things like getting the work breakdown structures, getting the asset classification structures in place. All of these things, very, very important. Software, and I would always recommend not trying to build your own CDE, but software is important, and choosing off-the-shelf software that is already, most of these types of BIM and CDE softwares are relational databases with wrappers around of particular workflows. But that's really only a small part of it. You have to think about your classification systems, the breakdown structures, your data DNA, because those are the really important things. And those are the things that make the CDE work. They take time. These things don't happen just by thinking you buy a piece of software. Preparing the user requirements, getting your functional specifications for your CDEs to suit the projects that you're after, or suit the asset management framework that you wish to use and then extend into your projects. It takes time to prepare them, and that preparation is absolutely vital so that you get exactly what you want. The procurement can also take months to make sure you get what you want, and then configuring it and bringing it into use. So don't, whatever you do, think that these things happen overnight. They don't. They can develop in line with your project. As your project grows and changes, your CDE should be changing and representing that. And you can also think about the security very carefully, because that's pretty important too. And again, there's lots of guidance to help you do that online nowadays. So really, in summary, the success, and I think you'll see in the submissions that are going to be assessed here, you can look and see how well the CDE is used through life cycles, see how well it is used for managing data and workflows. CDE and going digital brings such significant efficiencies and better decision making, and that's another way how we can measure success and how we would look to see the outcomes that are created in terms of benefits of efficiencies and effectiveness. But clients, particularly users, do need to plan for a CDE within a digital strategy to make things happen, because the CDE is only part of that overall digital strategy, which needs to be linked to other strategies such as procurement. I hope some of this has been of interest to you, but as I say, it has certainly been a real privilege to be with you today and the CIC to be able to talk about such an interesting subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor, and our esteemed guest speakers for the insightful sharing. Now, this leads us to the panel discussion session. And before that, let me introduce you to our moderator and our panelists for the session. Moderating the session, we have Engineer Albert Chang, Executive Director of CIC, and joining him with this virtually and also into this panel discussion, we have Mr. James Burt, Mr. Mark Anzer, and Mr. Malcolm Taylor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Engineer Chang to come on stage and moderate the session for us. Engineer Chang, over to you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite seldom for you to see that for a panel discussions, only the moderator is on the stage. Well, it echoes very well with our theme. It's a common data environment. So now we have the digital environment, so I can stand here alone, but with my panel members all overseas online. Now, Mr. Malcolm Data is now unavailable today because he's on trip. So I have given him my question beforehand, and he has pre-recorded his answer beforehand. So let me repeat my question that I have given to Malcolm, that I asked Malcolm to share his view on strategy that can help organizations progressively develop and take advantage of digital efficiency in project management from the planning stage to access management stage. So let's show the answer of Malcolm. Malcolm?
Sure, yes, it can be quite a daunting task, especially for clients who are wanting to start and get into a digital environment. It can feel quite daunting to think about, where do I start? And they sometimes fall into the trap of going out and buying some software and thinking, oh, well, I now become BIM enabled or something like that. And that is a big mistake. Yes, so for example, at the moment, we've got a client in the Far East, which we're helping. And actually, what we're looking to do for this client, who's starting off from very much, if you like, an analog, paper-based project management environment, getting them, first of all, over the next 6 to 9 months, becoming familiar with file-based systems using things like SharePoint, getting to begin to understand the idea of collaborating centrally with information, using that type of simple system when the volume of documentation is quite small in the early stages of a project environment. And for this particular client, what we're doing is getting them to begin to pull some of their information together. But then they have some feasibility studies and some design work coming along, and we're going to use those studies and design commissions to enable those contracts to build the common data environment for this client. So the strategy here is to use the projects over the next that this client has, and the skills that consultants and contractors can bring to build a common data environment for this client and provide that client with direct training. And so because it's very, very hard for clients often to just start from scratch to create that digital environment. So use the projects, use consultants, use your supply chain, and embed requirements within your contracts to help you train and develop your CDE. So that's one way in which we can help people. And I think the key thing here, as we say to many of our clients, is that you don't try to do everything all at once. You start slow and start small and go for lots of baby steps and small wins. Particularly, the first things you should be doing are things like creating asset data dictionaries, defining your assets, defining the basic data that you need. You can do simple things like create PDFs of drawings and begin to create some flat folder structures for your information if it's not there. But you can begin to create the hierarchy of your information, your breakdown structures, and then begin to think what computer systems might be needed to support those. So start small, start simple, and then over time, often using your contracts and projects, move into much bigger areas, because once you start moving into large, for example, large railway projects where you may have 4 or 5 million documents and drawings, you do need to then be thinking of very much the large relational database type CDAs. But you have to think of the journey that it's going to take you to get there. And because it is a journey, it absolutely doesn't happen overnight, but you can plan for it. And the sooner you start, the better, really.
Okay, thank you, Malcolm. Yes. Thank you very much for his answer. I think we'll all find his answer very useful to us. Now, next, I would like to turn to Mark. Now, could you share with us on the key factors for successful implementation CDE in your projects? So what challenges need to be tackled to establish a connected data environment? Malcolm?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think for me, probably the biggest issue, and so often this is the case, the key factors to me seem to be more to do with human and organizational factors. It's about the behavior and the culture that is needed to enable CDEs to work. And so the kind of thing that I mean there is that you kind of need a collaborative culture. You need collaboration. I mean, that's the whole point of CDEs. It's collaborating around shared data. And so that collaboration kind of needs to be as part of the way of working. But also there needs to be leadership and vision, a leadership that understands the need and can articulate a clear way forward to deliver it. And so that means, for example, establishing really clear information requirements and making sure that the capabilities are in place to deliver the CDE. So I think the key factors are human and organizational, and actually the key challenges are the same thing, but the other way around. And in fact, you could take it one step further and say that the key enablers of CDEs are therefore these same human and organizational factors. If we get those right, then the rest becomes actually quite easy. The technical stuff, we can do that. What we need is to make sure that we've got the right behaviors and culture to make it work.
Okay, thank you, Malcolm. Thank you for your key message to us, reminding us that human is very important. Right, okay, so may I ask you another question? So what is the roadmap for connected digital twins in UK? And how long will it take to achieve the goal?
Another brilliant question. So when I was working at the Centre for Digital Built Britain, we put together a roadmap for what we call the National Digital Twin, this idea of an ecosystem of connected digital twins. And really the idea of doing that was to establish both the direction and the kind of the destination as a desirable destination, but also to put in place some of the first steps to get there. And I think that one of the brilliant things about a roadmap is that it can hold both of those things in tension, you know, the vision and the action. And I think there is a famous quote out there somewhere that vision without action is a hallucination. And what I would like to add to that is that action without vision is a commotion. You kind of need both. The vision, the destination, but also the first steps to get going. And so I think that in the UK, we have started making those first steps, and we definitely see the market in digital twins taking off, individual digital twins. I think that there's a lot more challenge in joining them together and getting digital twins to talk to each other. And a lot of this goes back to what Malcolm was saying, actually around some of the kind of common coding, etc., to enable it. So when it comes to the roadmap, we've got a pretty good idea as to where we want to go and some of the first steps to get there. But then you ask the question, how long will it take? And I think it will take decades. This isn't a short journey. And it's probably one of these things which actually never gets finished because of the idea of connected digital twins. As an ecosystem, is that you can keep on joining more digital twins into the ecosystem. And so in that sense, it's never finished. You can always join more in. But I think in order to get to that kind of vision, you need to start with something real. And I think that's why I kind of emphasize this, both the vision and the action, the importance of a roadmap. But the straightforward answer to your question, how long will it take? It'll take decades.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I think we're right on the good example in the UK, but I think we need to work faster in Hong Kong, yeah. All right, okay, I'd like to turn on James. Now, James, I mean, why CDE is so important in life cycle access management to Quinton and any corporate strategy in the implementation of CDE?
So, stepping down from the scale of the projects that Malcolm and Mark were discussing in their presentations. Quintain is a client entity, quite a lot smaller than that. We're trying to find the sweet spot for our business about how much we invest in this this effort to transmit kind of usable data into our operational side. And so I think the CDE is a great conduit for that information coming through the supply chain. We maybe, unlike those mega projects that don't come around very often, we get the chance to iterate a fair bit. So we can kind of deliver a £100 million residential building, see what comes out of that, and then look to improve on that the next time we deliver, which I think is an important kind of learning curve that we've certainly been on. Working with framework contractors, we can kind of we can use that iteration process to kind of try and drag through more of that important information that we need in the operational phase of our business that perhaps we didn't have the foresight when we wrote the brief for that project. But I think the CDE is I like to think of it as a sort of a vehicle for getting information along the journey of an asset's life cycle. So from the design through the construction and through to operations. Now, I think the kind of industry is now just waking up to the idea of how that is then maintained through the life cycle of an asset, and it's something that's becoming more and more important, sort of post Grenfell and with the new Building Act in the UK. And so the CDE is going to become another important repository for the life cycle of information associated with assets. So I think that answers the question.
Hey, thank you, James. Now, another question for you is, what are the key applications integrated to the CDE platforms? And are there any challenges in these integrations?
So we've successfully managed to extract information from the CDE. I think it's hard to imagine that the ecosystem, the stack that you end up with for the CDE is going to be the perfect operational kind of distribution of that information. So further down the line, you're possibly going to have to suck information out and push it somewhere else. But I think that's fine. The data stack that's right during design and construction isn't necessarily going to be the one that is perfect for the operational phase of a building. And there's plenty of tools out there now, that can help with direct integration with cloud-based tools to kind of make that reality possible. I mean, maybe with the caveats of the security of all this information pinging about in the cloud. The solution can change, I think, over the period of an asset's life cycle to release some of that.
Okay, thank you, James. Now, I have one last question to either one of you that can answer. Is now, finally, the BIM or GIS or CDE are very fast evolving area with many new knowledge and solutions. So what kind of development of CDE are you expected in 3 to 5 years' time? Will there be any open CDE solution available soon? James or Malcolm? Or Mark, any answer?
Yeah, I'll just be quick so that maybe you can get both of us in. Yes, I would very much hope so. I think that the direction of travel should be towards greater interoperability and greater federation. What we shouldn't have to have is just kind of one central database where everything sits. We can imagine a more distributed type of model, but distributed and connected. What that needs then is to have the interoperability of data. It means that we do have to do the hard work underneath of making sure that we have high quality data models and shared reference data, so that there's some boring stuff to get done to make the data interoperable, but the benefit of doing that is going to be huge. I think as we go forwards, we can see greater federation, greater interoperability, and that will deliver greater benefits.
Thank you, thank you. James, any remarks
Yeah,
from
I
you?
think back to the points earlier about, you know, common the common way we code things, so that like between organizations there's a common understanding of what is what. Will facilitate that. I think, you know, standardization generally in our industry, I think will hopefully bring about some efficiencies there. And it's important for common understanding of the data that you're dealing with. People can spend a lot of time trying to understand the source information if we don't.
Okay, thank you, James. Now, I think all of us, your audience here and also online, agree that both our panel member has given us a very insightful and knowledgeable information. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you, James. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, a big round of applause to also Engineer Chang for moderating the session for us, and also to our esteemed speakers. A big thank you for sharing immensely important and useful information with us. Thank you very much. Now, before we conclude the event, we would like to have some time. Please allow us to introduce to you a very important event which will be held by the end of this year, which is the Construction Innovation Expo 2022. Well, CI Expo is considered as one of the most and key milestones of CIC's construction digitalization roadmap. The triennial flagship event will showcase innovative and advanced construction technologies from all over the world, essentially establishing a platform for the industry to exchange ideas, experiences in innovation and innovative solutions. Now, let's take a look at a short video to get a glimpse of this grand event. Please enjoy. Looks really exciting. So do save the dates. The 12th to the 16th of December, save the dates for the event, and we look forward to seeing you there. Well, to round up our event, please join me and welcome again on stage Engineer Albert Chang, Executive Director, Construction Industry Council, for the closing remarks. Please welcome Engineer Chang.
Chairman Thomas, judges, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's come to the end of the ceremony this afternoon. Now, my staff have prepared a closing speech for me, but I find that most of the point has been repeated in the opening speech and also in some of the points made by the guests. So I'm not going to, just read line by line of the speech prepared by my colleagues. But I think you all share my view that, the discussion today is very useful to you all. And to tell you one single truth is that you need to act fast, because we cannot fall behind. Now, because you can see that from the UK, they already 20 years ago, they already started CDE. And also many other competitive countries in the world, they have already started CDE in the project management. So we really need to act fast now. So this is the purpose of this, the CIC, this CDE award, is to try to motivate our industries to act fast in this aspect, try to apply CDE in your project management. So I hope that, all our clients, contractors, consultants who have already adopted CDEs, please do join our, award, competitions, and then do submit your projects for us. And then show your case, show your strength to the other friends in the industry, and also be our agent in the future. Those awardees, please be our agent in the future to tell the industry fans that how beneficial is this CDE in your project lifecycle management. And hope to see you all in our award presentation ceremony in our CI Construction Expo in the coming December. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Chang. Please be seated. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the CIC, we would like to extend a very big thank you again for making time to join us today. Well, don't forget to submit your entries for the Hong Kong Construction Common Data Environment Award and share your valuable experience with the industry. Submission deadline will be the 30th of September. Act now and make sure you don't miss the important date. Well, for our online audience, if you would like to get more details, you will be able to see a link to direct you to the award webpage so that you can get more information about the award. Again, it's been a pleasure sharing this afternoon with all of you. Thank you once again for making time to join us. I hope you've enjoyed the event as much as we have, and we look forward to seeing you in the next event. Thank you very much.